a lot of people are afraid to adjust their own truss rods, and I can understand that, because if you break a truss rod, it's an extremely expensive repair to get that repaired. But if you are tightening a truss rod and the thing just doesn't fight you all over the place, you're not going to break it. I've probably fixed, in my 30-year career, 30-plus year career, probably like 5 or 6 broken truss rods, and I've adjusted thousands.
So people don't really have to be too paranoid about doing that adjustment themselves.
Yeah, and that's one of the main motivations for people not doing their own work, is they think they're going to mess it up.
Right.
One of the things they always have to remember is that, like, if you turn this wrench this way and you don't like the results, you turn it back the way that it came, and you start all over again.
Right.
And it's the same way with learning your intonation. If you intonate your instrument and you don't like your results, well, you can always just turn the screw and put it back and see what kind of results that action gave you. After you go through it a few times, it just becomes total child's play. There's nothing to it.
Got it.
And I'm a real strong proponent of teaching people how to do all of their own setups with screwdrivers and wrenches, just because, once again, they can get better results than having me do the job for them.
Right.
So, where the player should stop working on his own guitars is when they find something like a localized discrepancy in the levelness of the frets. Say, for example, the 3rd fret is buzzing a lot more than the 4th. Well, the truss rod's not going to take out a discrepancy to lower that particular fret. It's only good for overall adjustment, to compensate for temperature and humidity changes, and to set the action at your personal preference. At that point, what is needed is to have the frets either leveled or the fretboard leveled and the frets replaced, depending upon the extent of the problem, the amount of fret wear that's present at that time. When you're shopping for a guitar, I early on mentioned that you should be able to experience the truss rod working, have the person in the store show you that the truss rod is working. Also, when you pick the thing up, any guitar up, take a look for how cleanly the frets are put in. You can see at the edges that this guitar, it's done quite cleanly, and if you look at the fretboard, I don't see gaps in between the bottom of the fret and the top of the fretboard. A lot of guitars come out of the factory with problems of the frets not being seated correctly, or the fingerboard not being level underneath the frets, and that requires either a mill to compensate for the lack of levelness of the fretboard, or it requires pulling the frets, leveling the fingerboard, and refretting the guitar. If you see things like poorly seated frets on the guitar, that's a sure sign of problems. Because if a fret is not down on the guitar, it will start to rock in its slots with the pressure of a file across it when you're milling it. And at that point, you have to pull the frets and refret the guitar. So, seeing that the neck is seeing that the neck adjustment rod works well, seeing that the frets are correctly seated is going to give you an idea of how much neck work you have to do or not do to the guitar to get it perfectly playing. The rest is just personal preference, whether you like the resonance of the guitar, the shape of the neck, and the feel of it.
Right.
And I guess I could also add that you should like the acoustic resonance of the instrument as well, because it's extremely difficult to fix a guitar that acoustically does not sound good by changing things like the electronics, the pickups, for example.
Right.